Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on Egypt's health sector. We're going to be looking at some of the major programs and presidential initiatives looking to boost the health sector also for the fiscal year 2023-2024. The budget will allocate an extra 15% for the development of the health sector. We're going to be focusing on that tonight, but before that, let's check out some of the main stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who received the heads and representatives of the Italian mining companies, namely Burton, Minerali Industriali and BSM, on Tuesday. Presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy said the meeting dealt with reviewing the prospects of cooperation with the Italian companies to maximize the utilization of Egypt's mineral resources. This cooperation comes in light of the great success of the industrial cooperation model between Egypt and Italy in the Ain al-Sukhna Quartz Production Complex project, which was inaugurated by President el-Sisi last May. During the meeting, officials of the Italian companies expressed their hopes to intensify work towards deepening the process of cooperation with Egypt. They also affirmed their commitment to strengthening joint projects with Egypt. President el-Sisi carefully follows up efforts to push the private investment, the thing which reflects the state's keenness to achieve a real breakthrough in the field of mining. And Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that the state will be ready to take any decision that may contribute in enhancing tourist arrivals in the central Sinai resorts of Taba and Nuweiba. The comment was made during a meeting Madbouli presided over to follow up efforts to encourage tourism activities in the two cities. The Prime Minister said he will visit Taba and Nuweiba in the near future to get acquainted over the problems there and follow up on the situation of faltering hotels. Prime Minister Madbouli also asserted the importance of raising the efficiency of roads leading to the two resort cities and improve the ATM facilities there. These were a couple of the stories making the news today, but now turning our attention to the Egyptian health sector now. President el-Sisi is following up the program's initiatives related to the health sector and also inaugurated a couple of healthcare facilities. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Within the framework of state's efforts to improve public health, President Fattah el-Sisi has reviewed with Presidential Advisor for Health and Prevention Affairs, Dr. Mohammed Awad Tajuddin, to follow up on a number of national initiatives in the health and medical care sector for citizens nationwide. During the meeting, the President was briefed on the results of implementing various presidential initiatives. President el-Sisi gave directives to make the best use of the capabilities available in all institutions of the medical system, whether affiliated to the Ministry of Health or university hospitals, with the aim of enhancing continuity of the success of these initiatives and improvement of health services provided to citizens. Dr. Tajuddin also presented developments of the implementation of the comprehensive health insurance system, clarifying the next steps and the time frame in this regard. The President gave directives to continue stages of implementing the system in order to reach desired goals to include all governorates and offer health coverage to all Egyptians with the highest levels of efficiency and quality. Meanwhile, President el-Sisi inaugurated via video conference Kom Hamada Hospital and the Bone Marrow Transplant Department at Mawaisi University Hospital, both at Bahira. Kom Hamada Hospital spans over 3,100 square kilometers and has cost of £450 million. As for the BMT department of Mawaisi University Hospital, it consists of 7 marrow transplant units, stem cell separation unit, laboratory for preserving and freezing cells. The department's equipment was manufactured in Germany and it has the capacity of accommodating 60 to 70 marrow transplant cases per year. The service is offered free of charge to patients in Alexandria, Matruh, and Kafr al-Sheikh. The cost of one marrow transplant operation is around 100,000 Egyptian pounds. A national health insurance plan offering universal coverage that has been planned for several years is now being implemented, promising widespread change to the nation's administration of care. The Ministry of Health and Population is responsible for overseeing the implementation of health legislation and care across the country, managing primary health care centers, general hospitals, district hospitals, and integrated and specialized hospitals.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Dr. Islam Anan, the lecturer on health policy and health economics at Ain Shams University. Dr. Anan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Hari.
Dr. Anan, first of all, let's start with the latest, which is the President inaugurating via video conference the Kom Hamada Hospital and the Moasseh University Hospital. With a bone marrow transplant units there. Now, what is the significance of such an inauguration, the units, especially in those two hospitals, and what can they offer for the Egyptian citizens?
Okay, so I believe it is a very robust and a strong milestone in general in terms of innovative treatments. When we are talking about stem cell transplantation or SCT, we're talking about the last line option for many diseases, something like chronic lymphocytic leukemia, DLBCL. We're talking about a lot of diseases. Patients were actually suffering from maybe taking chemotherapy, taking targeted, and the last line of treatment, if they are relapsing or so, is to pay above 300,000 Egyptian pounds to make the operation itself, the stem cell transplantation. So offering this in general hospitals, in university and in MOH, Ministry of Health Hospital, it's a good step because it will be all state funded. So citizens can just apply for it, and there is a triad council that they can review the case, and if eligible, it will be eligible for free to take the operations forward. And currently, Egypt, we do have a good success rate for the operations, for the stem cell transplantation so far. And we are aiming that this step, maybe we were just talking that in 3 to 5 years, we will be witnessing massive interventions using stem cell transplantation. It got many applications in healthcare, many applications in organ transplantation, in replacement therapy. I believe we will be witnessing a lot of personalized medicine in Egypt and worldwide in the next couple of years. And if we are mentioning personalized medicine, we're talking about medications where it's actually personalized and custom per patient profile, per individual. So each citizen will be taking a different regimen or a different treatment. This is innovative techniques worldwide now. Even for painkillers, they are making personalized painkillers. And it's being applied in Egypt mainly for cancer treatments or for autoimmune diseases. And in near future, we'll be witnessing it in many disease areas like non-communicable diseases in general.
Yes. Well, the application and using stem cells as a sort of medication, even internationally, worldwide, it is quite pricey. It's very expensive, and it's not commonly used. And you're saying that Egypt is looking to actually make it more common within a few years. At the same time, we have eradicated virus C, for instance, which has been very hard and very expensive to treat abroad. How are we able to bridge that sort of, or make that sort of leap between how we are treating, or the prospects of how we treat our patients, than how they are treating patients abroad?
Okay, that's a good debate point, because actually we were talking about whether should we invest in prevention and early detection, or we should invest more in treatment and latest line treatments. Actually, currently we need to invest in both. However, the vision should be focusing on preventive and early detection. Even if we are spending more in early detection and prevention, a good example is virus C, as you mentioned. We actually spent 4 billion And the big debate was actually why you are spending 4 billion Egyptian pounds on actually early detection of hepatitis C or chronic hepatitis C, instead of just allocating this budget for treatment. However, when we look at the return on investment, we can see that spending that amount of money had a return of around 359% return on investment. It means that for each pound you are spending, you are returning back to economy around 3.5 Egyptian pounds. And this is coming from a very famous story. We're all the time saying it, that most Egyptians suffering from hepatitis Z, they actually discovered it by coincidence. They are applying for a job. Imagine a student having good grades, graduating, then applying for a company, got a very good offer in the Gulf, and then before traveling, after a lot of interviews, he discovers or she discovered that they got hepatitis C. Back then, they will be banned for good to work outside Egypt. So we are stopping the future for many individuals because of hepatitis C.
Yes.
Having said that, early detection will make us actually avoid all this dilemma. Will be able actually to make them back to economy working, up and running, as we are saying in economics, and returning back to the community and to the economics, a lot of return. We are talking about savings of 20 billion Egyptian pounds. So you are spending 4 billions, you are saving 20 billions, because you will be spending later on treatment, the debatable point, and you will be spending even on cancer. That's why, for example, Egypt launched the hepatocellular carcinoma presidential initiative, the liver cancer presidential initiative, because actually we are talking about 80% of HCC patients, liver cancer, were suffering before from chronic hepatitis C. So instead of all this dilemma, if we had spent all this preventive budget, we will even save money spent on cancer patients even.
Well, Dr. Anan, you've mentioned the initiatives that were launched recently in regards to cancer. Now it's liver cancer, lung cancer, prostate cancer, cervix cancer. Now, these are they campaigns or initiatives that are mainly early detection and prevention, or does it also include treatment?
Okay, so it's a full-fledged one. We are talking about early detection, and we are talking about treatment for the 3 cancer types, excluding cervix. For cervix, it's even for prevention. We can add prevention, because currently we do have a vaccine that youth girls can actually take at a teen age, and it will prevent by biggest extent the evolution of cancer later stage. So we are talking about 3 types of cancer plus cervix, where they're actually prevalent in Egypt. We're talking about prostate cancer, the most prevalent one in males. We're talking about as well of colon cancer. Egyptians got very high incidence of colon cancer, unfortunately, and some are saying it's because of dietary habits, from stress, a lot of reasons, environmental factor. However, putting all these factors together, we need to treat the cause itself by its roots. So we are talking about all the primary healthcare unit, and we were talking a lot about the primary healthcare unit initiative, that they can facilitate the referral of the early detection and detected cases to tertiary units. We are talking about 4 cancers, a big campaign launched last month, that it will be, inshallah, nationwide in a couple of months. We are talking about the first day of the presidential initiative. Alexandria, which is one center, received 50,000 applications.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go out to a short break, and we'll be right back to continue our discussion with Dr. Anan. Don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with Dr. Anan. Doctor, you were talking about the early detection units. Can you tell us more about it, and how can we actually encourage Egyptians? Because it's not really in the culture of the average Egyptian citizen to start doing their checkups after hitting 40 and all of these things, and a yearly checkup. How can we actually encourage Egyptians and implant this sort of cultural thing to go to early detection units and have an annual checkup? How can we do that?
It's a very good point, Mr. Hani, because actually all of us, for example, if we are talking dentistry, you never go to your dentist, or some people do, unless you are feeling pain. So we got acquainted that we don't make regular checkups. It's not in our blood. We just wait if there is symptoms, and then we go seek counsel for the symptom, and that's the driver factor.
Yes.
So if we would like to make people go to primary care units, we would like to encourage them with, first of all, media. That's what we're doing currently. And that we do have high prevalence of a lot of cancer types, specifically these 4 launched last week. And we would like just to rest assured that you are healthy, because the cost of not detecting the cancer earlier is actually late diagnosis. The late diagnosis is very costly, and which is most important item is not about cost, it's about life. Because when it is detected in stage 4, for example, we are talking about a high chance of fatality, and we don't want to reach this stage.
Yes.
And in these 4 cancer types, if it's early detected, it's easily curable. So that's a good encouraging point. Another one is you will go to the citizen will go to the primary healthcare unit, and they will do a lot of checkups, and it's totally for free, and they can actually repeat it every year. And they can do a simpler thing, just an eligibility survey. They can go to the website of the Ministry of Health. They can download the survey and just fill the survey. They will have a risk score. If they would like to go after that, we urge them to go. If they, for example, smokers, overweight or obese, suffering from cardiovascular diseases. So these are, for example, some risk factor that will drive citizens that please go, it's for free, it's to the nearest primary healthcare unit. If you don't want to download the link, the survey from the link, you can go directly to any primary healthcare unit from the Ministry of Health branches, and you can do the survey there, and you can see your eligibility score. You can even call the hotline. They will find on the website a hotline. They can discuss it with the operator and just discuss the eligibility score and the nearest screening branch. I hope we actually go more to the early detection presidential initiative. However, I can see a change in culture. And I'm measuring on the hepatitis C, for example, initiative. We were not actually expecting 50 million Egyptians to go and make their checkups for hepatitis C. And measuring 10 years ago, when the first trial of making the screening, it was a couple of millions only of citizens went to do the screening. But in 2018 to 2019 and 2020, we reached 50 million. So there's some changes in the culture, and I can say that COVID made some changes as well in the culture of checking other diseases and whether I need to start treatment or not.
Yes. Well, so you've told me before we go on air that there's also an initiative of actually establishing a health economics department that will be established within every hospital. Now, how can this be beneficial, and what exactly does it mean? I mean, you're a lecturer on health policy and health economics, but what can a health economics department help and do at hospitals, and how can it benefit the Egyptian citizen and patient?
Okay, so let's start that Ministry of Health recently announced Health Economics Department, and we are currently trying to add health economics as a specialty for pharmacists. So health economics was established actually in Egypt, the pioneer country in the Middle East and Africa. We're the first country to initiate EUNET. By law, we do have health economics department inside the Unified Purchase Authority, the UPA, and we do have a health economics unit inside each health entity. We're talking about the Universal Health Insurance Organization, we're talking about Egyptian Health Authority, the old universal coverage, and even for the specialized medical center. However, what we are discussing currently is having a subsidiary units of health economics inside each hospital. The centralized one inside Ministry of Health, they are responsible for the general health policy and efficiency control for both medications and the patient journey, all the equipments of patient journey. We're talking about diagnostics, follow-up, we're talking about operations and all interventions included in the treatment journey. However, the subsidiary health economist, he will be responsible for costing, for example. And for costing, it's very important because we were all the time purchasing medications based on price.
Yes.
However, currently we are changing the laws to be based on cost. The big difference between price and cost is, regardless the price of a medication, whether it will be good value for money or not. Sometimes you are purchasing a very cheap needle, for example, for a syringe, but the nurse cannot actually install it correctly and they are consuming 2 or 3. So you can purchase it double the price, but it will be installed from the first time. So that's the main difference between what we are calling the price and cost. So health economics will be responsible for establishing good costing strategy for hospitals, even if the price is higher. However, it's cost beneficial. Secondly, they will be responsible for the capitation costing per person, whether the individuals are treating with the right intervention or not, reporting back the cost effectiveness data to the central health economics, and tracking down the quality of life of patients, what we are calling quality adjusted life years, the quality of life and the life years. So all these are actually based on data, and the main aim, if we're talking about the main aim, is informed decisions. We would like that the central health economics and the central health policy departments inside Ministry of Health to have enough data to support their decisions in taking actually a medication over another medication, or an intervention over another intervention, or something like the stem cell transplantation, whether I should go for a stem cell transplantation or better just to continue chemotherapy. Sometimes you'll find that even stem cell transplantation, which is 300k Egyptian pounds, will be more cost effective than chemo, which is, for example, a 50k only. Because on the long run, you do have a lot of life years. On the long run, you do have better quality of life, and the citizen will be able to be productive again in the community.
And who would be actually working within the health economics department? Would they be pharmacists or doctors? Because they will have to make decisions, and they will be very critical decisions on, as you've mentioned, calling what course of treatment should a patient have. So who would actually be working within these health economic department?
So pharmacists currently are the one responsible for health economics in general. We are adding, now while we are speaking, we're trying to have a process of adding health economics as a specialty for pharmacists. So it will be a health economist pharmacist. And if we're talking about the prescription or the treatment plan, of course, it's the responsibility of the physician. However, the choice of the protocol itself upfront before the hospital regimen is actually established will be part of it based on health economics. And finally, the selection of which regimen, which does not deviate from the physician regimen. For example, you are talking about which type of syringe, which type of equipments, which type of MRI, for example, if we're talking bigger scale. However, it should be an integration, because the one responsible for the procurement is a pharmacist. However, he's different from the one responsible for health economics. And it is different from the management of the hospital, responsible, for example, finally on the treatment protocol inside the hospital. So it must be an integration between all entities inside the hospital for this actually system to work eventually. And that's what we are calling the integrated healthcare. That all healthcare in worldwide, they are trying to reach the integration between all health entities. It's not easy. It's another debatable point. And sometimes you find some tension between physicians who are trying to prescribe whatever they would like to prescribe, and then they are faced with pharmacists saying that it's not cost effective, you're not allowed to prescribe it. And we've witnessed, once we established health economics for a couple of years, a lot of debates, a lot of tension between physicians and pharmacists. However, currently I can say that's not like 3 to 4 years ago. Currently they sit together, it's one committee. And health economists should actually say that, okay, we approve this medication because it's cost effective, it's beneficial for the patient. And physicians are now convinced, and they know that the choice of a lot of treatment protocols should got one aspect of economics, not only clinical, because actually we do have limited budget as any country in the world. No country can afford having all treatments inside the pharmacy.
Well, so the Health Economics Department will actually be working on monitoring the activities and the services provided by the hospitals, and they will also be concerned with the quality control, the quality of the services provided by the hospitals. Now, as you've mentioned, what if the scenario happens that the department calls foul play by the hospital, or they get into a conflict of opinion regarding how to treat a patient? Who would actually be, who would they have to go back to actually make the call, or would it be up to the patient's preference? How will these sort of conflicts be resolved?
Okay, so there's a very famous quote that we all the time saying that if the system is more stronger than people, no conflicts will happen. If people are more strong than the system, a lot of conflicts will happen. So if we do have that robust system that we are discussing, it will be of less conflicting between all parties and with less tension. Having said the system, we are talking about a system that starts with assessment. Assessment of all medications at the point of registration, at the point of approving any medication. So we're not going to approve any medication which is not actually good value for money. Then if it's approved, we need a committee to have a treatment guidelines. The committee that will initiate the treatment guidelines should be clinicians, physicians, and with pharmacists and payers, budget holders, I mean.
Yes.
And then you do the reimbursement, and you do have better prices from the companies, and then you have then the treatment and the execution and the service providing, and finally to have an audit on top of all the system.
Yes.
That's what we call health governance. If we do have a good health governance, we're not going to be actually facing a lot of tension between all stakeholders, not only physicians and pharmacists, by the way. Add budget holders, add policymakers, add nurses, add administrative, and add patients.
Yes.
So we're trying to resolve all these conflicts by having a better system.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Egypt has decided to increase their spending by 15% on the medical and health sector for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Let's check out this report, and we'll be right back.
Minister of Finance and head of the General Authority for the Universal Health Insurance System, Mohammed Maid, announced the government plans to raise health care spending by 15% in fiscal year 2023-2024. He said allocations for the health sector in the next fiscal year amount to £397 billion, with an annual increase of 30.4%, noting that constitutional entitlement of the health sector has been fulfilled in the new budget. The minister added that health sector tops the presidential priorities in a way that contributes to the provision of good health care services as an inherent human right. Minister Maid mentioned during celebration for the issuance of Egypt's National Health Accounts Report that healthcare spending has already been raised by 10% during the first 9 months of fiscal year 2022-2023. The report examines healthcare spending in Egypt, including government and citizen contributions, as well as investments in the sector. The minister stated that the universal health insurance system would be implemented in all Egyptian governorates within 10 years upon presidential mandate to compress its 15-year plan timetable. He said that providing comprehensive and integrated health care for all members of the Egyptian family is a dream that cannot be postponed, adding that this comes despite all global economic crises resulting from coronavirus pandemic and the war in Europe that have forced the whole world to rearrange spending priorities. Maid noted that the UHIS would be implemented in the rest of its first phases governorates, Suez, Aswan and South Sinai before the end of the current fiscal year, after the experience has succeeded in Luxor and Port Said and expanded to Ismailia. Moreover, Maid assured that for the needy families, the state's public treasury would bear the financial burdens of their sickness along with the risks and psychological consequences. He noted that his ministry aims to provide the ability to reserve medical services in the new medical system by a phone application, which helps alleviate the process on citizens. The universal health insurance system will be supported by state-of-the-art automation technologies as part of the Digital Egypt strategy, a broader national plan targeting digitization of all government services countrywide. The six-phase healthcare scheme started experimentally in Port Said in early 2018 and later expanded to Luxor and Ismailia, with the lowest income citizens being given priority in the program's schedule. The capital, Cairo, was relegated to the final phase. Over 5 million Egyptian citizens have been registered in the country's universal health insurance system in the governorates of the first phase. The Cabinet's Information and Decision Support Center announced in December 2021, while in April 2022, Acting Minister of Health and Population Khaled Abdelghaffar said that nearly 15.3 million people would be added to the country's insurance system in 2022, including farmers, seasonal workers, taxi drivers, fishermen, and construction workers, as well as transport and shipping workers.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing our discussion with Dr. Anan. Now, increasing the spending by 15% for the health sector. It sounds like a very good increase, which would reflect on an improvement and development and strengthening of the health sector. But the 15%, is it because of the natural rise of the expenditures and the costs of the health services and the processes involved, or is it for the development of certain sectors or inauguration of certain hospitals or increasing the pay for the medical health workers, or is it working on the infrastructure and digitalization? I mean, where is this 15% going, and what is the best way to utilize those 15%?
Yes, or all of the above. Yeah. So mainly it's three things if we're talking about budget increase. First is resources. Resources, we are talking about hospitals. There is a direction coming from the need of having more health facilities and health units, as said by President Sisi during Health Exicon, the conference,
yes,
and His Highness Minister Khaled Abdelghaffar. And we are talking about human development. We're talking about training and development for the healthcare professionals. And we are talking about IT infrastructure. Because in order to have all the system we were discussing and talking about, we need a very strong IT infrastructure that can actually link and put all the health facilities together and put as well all the health entities, because we don't have only the Ministry of Health currently. We do have a lot of entities working together, and they are not under the Minister of Health. Some units are actually having a minister on top of it, like Unified Purchase, like Egyptian Drug Authority, like the GAHAR, the Accreditation and Quality and Audit, and so on, and Universal Health Insurance Organization. So that's for resources. Another one is for process. For process, you need to spend more on having a better process of healthcare, whether you need to spend on having a unified treatment guidelines, so patients are actually treated equally and with equitable access and equitable treatment protocols all over Egypt. You need a good process from receiving the file of any pharmaceutical product or intervention, from registration till the utilization of the service by the patient. And finally, we need to spend more on enhancing outcome. And if we're talking about enhancing outcome, we're talking about data, and we are talking about measuring success, key performance indicators. And if we're talking resources, process, outcome, the last, which is very important, is the prices itself.
Yes.
Because we do have increase in the budget of service providing in general inside all hospitals, and we do have an increase in the medication prices. Not like the FMCG's industry, alhamdulillah, not like the food and beverage, because we do have a fixed pricing for medications. We're talking about an increase which is around from 20% to 40%, very rarely around 100%, which does not match the inflation. It's below the inflation. However, we are discussing two things: the price of the existing medications, and that all the future medications will be actually very expensive in price. We were talking about personalized medicine. We are talking about cancer treatments. One case of prostate cancer, it was treated before with 1,000 Egyptian pounds. Currently, it can go up to around 250,000 Egyptian pounds. So that's because of the innovation in healthcare, the innovation in medications, and the biologics industry. We are facing currently worldwide around 900 new products from biologic existence. Biologics are very expensive.
Yes.
And in 10 years, they will be replacing the usual medications we are taking every day. So we need to increase the budget to cope with the increase in medication service providing, and at the same time enhance the resources process outcome, including all the presidential initiative, including all the prevention and the early detection. It's very strategic to invest in the early detection. Just when you reach 2030, you have less spending on the treatment itself, because it's actually consuming a lot. We are talking medications, for example. Medication is consuming 25% of budget. Usually, the normal is to be 12 to 14% only.
That's almost half.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard it from Dr. Anan, I mean, a lot of programs, initiatives, early detections, primary health units, health economic departments established within the hospitals. A lot has been taken. Many steps have been taken for the development of the health sector, but as he mentioned, a lot more still needs to be done. It is a very developing, fast developing sector, and also very costly, so still a lot more will be done here in Egypt. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Dr. Islam Anan, the Lecturer of Health Policy and Health Economics at Ain Shams University. Dr. Anan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nara International. I'm Henny Said. Thanks for joining us.